Hey, 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 looks like we're alive today again, and we are back in business. 8:08 with Clay every Monday and Wednesday, 8:08 Eastern Time, 8:08 p.m. Eastern Time. Here's Jeff again. How are you doing, Jeff? Ray, my brother. How you guys doing? You guys doing all right? Oh, I need my timer. I keep forgetting the timer. Online timer. All right, let's put this to 25. All right, Erica, Danny, Claudion. And here we are. So this week we're going to talk about high-speed sync. This is going to be the high-speed sync week. Can you guys hear me okay? I had some issues with this mic. Let me know here in the comments that if you can hear me okay or not. I don't know. Hopefully you can. All right, cool. So let me start talking about this week. We're going to do a high-speed sync week. We're going to talk about high-speed sync a lot this week. Why? Because it's important to know, because I think a lot of people just kind of understand it. And what I'm going to do today, I'm going to break it down for you, what happens behind the scenes when you set your flash to high-speed sync, what happens to the curtains, how it acts, so you can understand it better and learn how to take advantage of it. So you're going to talk about how it works. I'm going to show a demo, do a demo on this image here on how it works, and we're going to talk about the good and the bad. Because like everything in life, there's got to be a drawback, right? But before we get there, I want to start this live apologizing for the quality of the high-speed sync live video that I tried to do 2 weeks ago. We were coming back from New York City from the break, and we timed and everything was okay. When you got into 95, we're like bumper to bumper, and we're like, we're not gonna get there on time, but I still want to do the live because, you know, I didn't want to cancel guys on you. You guys have been supporting me since the beginning, and I mean, I take this very seriously, and that's my commitment to you. So we stopped somewhere in the road and tried to record. It was a beautiful scene actually, but the connection was just horrible. It was breaking down, and I didn't know because I was just recording and everything was fine on my end. So, and then you guys told me that was breaking a lot, so I couldn't really we couldn't really make sense of what was being said. So that's why I decided to do the whole week on high-speed sync this week, and we're going to try to do a live shooting outdoors here in our place on Wednesday. Let's see if that works. So I want to apologize for that. And second, I want to say thank you to all of you who sent me well wishes because I was a little bit under the weather. It was a scary situation. I was sitting here at home working, just a fine day. Everything was fine, and suddenly I felt dizzy, and I've had issues with high blood pressure. So I had one of those things that you measure blood pressure, and I put it on, and my blood pressure was at 200 over 140. Yeah, that's type of scary. So I tried to get up, got dizzy. Anyway, long story short, ended up on the emergency room. When I got to the emergency room, was like 114 by over like 135, 140, something like that. So, but I'm taking my medication. I did all the exams that the doctor asked me to do. Everything came out fine. The doctor was a little bit concerned that I had a mild stroke, but that wasn't the case. We did an MRI. Everything's all right. So it's just a matter of me understanding that I'm not 20 anymore and really take my medication, which I wasn't taking. It's all on me. It's all my fault. It's nobody else's fault. It's all on me. But thank you for the well wishes. Thank you for the get well so that I got. I really, truly appreciate you guys. So let's get into the topic. High-speed sync. What is high-speed sync? every camera, every manufacturer and different models have different sync speeds. What's a sync speed? A sync speed is the ability of your shutter when you go 1 to 100, 100 of a second, 1 to 100 of a second, is the ability of your shutter to synchronize with the curtains in the back of the camera. So what we do is, so you have your sensor here, and then you have two curtains, right, that stand on the front of the sensor. So curtain number 1 and curtain number 2. So they operate like this. So when you, let's say you are under your sync speed. On Canon cameras, the sync speed is 1/200 of a second. Most of them are. Like I said, it depends on model to model. And according to my Nikon expert here, Jeff, he said that a Nikon goes to 1/200 of a second, 1/250 of a second, and it all depends on the model. So let's say that for the sake of this conversation, for the sake of this live, let's say it's 1/200 of a second. So when you put like your shutter speed 1/200 of a second or less, so that's the native, that's the normal shutter speed of a camera. So when you push the button, let's say you want 1/200 of a second, so the sensors behind here, those are the curtains, and here you have the mirror. When you push the button, the mirror flips, exposing the curtains. So curtain number 1 goes down, expose the sensor to the image is burned into the sensor. Curtain number 2 comes down, and they come back up again. So they go down, wait, whichever shutter speed you have set up to. Let's say if it's 1/200 of a second, it's going to wait, and it's going to go down and bring it up again. You go 1, 2, and if it's, of course, if it's 1/50 of a second, it's going to go there and hang out open like for 1/50 of a second and go down and go back up again. So this is what happens. So each camera has 2 curtains. Older camera used to open to the side. There's all kind of thing like mid-format cameras. You don't have that issue because the shutter is different, but that's a whole different conversation. So for our DSLRs, so what we have is this 2 curtain system, right? Go right and go back, which is quite amazing actually how it works. But what happens when you add more speed? Let's say you go from 1/200 of a second to 1/400 of a second, 1/600 of a second, or 1/1000 of a second, right? You just cut in light. So, and before I tell you what happens, why would somebody do something like that? Why would you go that fast? Let's say that you photograph, when you look at my photos, my images, I usually don't use high-speed sync because when I'm shooting a scene, that's one of those big, when I'm creating those big epic images, I want the scene to be in focus. So I'm closing my aperture to cut the light. I'm usually, depending on how much light I have, I'm f8, f16, you know, I mean, it all depends, f32. I mean, I've been like all over the aperture. So that way I can keep my sync speed within the camera parameters, which is, in this case, is 200 of a second. But let's say I'm shooting a subject here. This is a subject over here, and then there's this beautiful, there's a building on the background here, but I don't want to call attention to this building. I want to shoot a wide shot, okay? I want to capture the blue skies. I don't want blown out skies, okay? I have my flash set up, I have everything set up. Now I have this subject here, and I have a building in the back here, not too far, but I don't want this building to call attention. I want to focus, I want to make the separation of the subject from the building by blurring the background. So every time I say blurring the background, we all know that the aperture needs to be open. Now, when I open the aperture, what happens? More light coming into the camera, into the sensor. Okay, then I'm going to lose that blue sky that I have and get those blown out skies. That, fine, some people like it, I don't. But this is where the high-speed sync comes in place. Because now what you need to do to cut light, so your ISO is low and you're shooting at 2.8, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the sun is high, you're shooting at 2.8 in order to blurry that building on the back here. You focus on the subject, you're blurring the building on the back here, right? So you at 1.8, now, I'm sorry, 2.8 at that point, you wide open, and then you're going to collect all of that light. So how are you going to cut the light? You have two ways to do this. We can put a filter in front of the camera. Think of a filter as a sunglasses for your lenses, right? You put a filter on front of the lens, or you increase your shutter speed to cut light. Does that make sense? So because I'm wide open, I need to cut light that's coming into the scene, into the sensor. You don't want all of the light to hit the sensor, okay? So we're cutting the light to make the sky blue again, okay? So you increase the shutter speed to whatever it is, 1,000 of a second, 2,000 of a second, 4,000 of a second, whatever is needed to concentrate on keeping the sky blue and the scene well lit and everything, but nothing blown out, and the background blurry and your subject in focus. Now that you have your scene dialed in, you bring the flash and put the flash in the subject and you fire. So what's going to happen? Now you let's say you are at 1/1000 of a second. The speed of the because mechanically, this is a mechanical problem. Mechanically, the curtains cannot go down and go back up as fast as 1,000 of a second. There's no way you can do it. It's mechanically impossible. So what happens in that case, the camera, being smart technology as those manufacturers are, so the camera comes down, the first curtain comes down, and the second curtain, as the first curtain starts to moving down, the second curtain started moving down together, and then you have this issue here. Let me show you this. I have this image here close for a reason, and I have my curtains here. All right, this is curtain number 1. This is curtain number 2. This is what the sensor needs to capture. Okay, so when you are at 1/200 of a second, what happens is this. As you shoot curtain number 1, so this is how it is in there, behind the mirror. As you shoot curtain number 1, will come down, expose the image, wait the 200 of a second, curtain number 2 comes down, closes it, and they go back up together. 1/100 of a second, same thing. Comes down, expose the image to the sensor, the image is burned to the sensor. When it gets to 1/100 of a second, it comes down and goes back up again. That's how it works on a regular under the sync speed of your camera. But once you pass that 200, you go over that the sync speed of the camera, what happens is this. Let's say I'm now at 1/1000 of a second. Those things are big. All right, 1/1000, okay? So curtain number 1 goes down, curtain number 2 starts kicking in, and look what happens. Whoop. This is what happens. And they get down here and they go back. Again, curtain number 1, so here's the image. Here's what's happening. So you push the button, curtain number 1 goes down, curtain number 2 starts moving. You see, you have just a sleeve of image going on. What happens, your flash is actually capturing just this on the image. Because the curtains are moving together, because at 1/1000 of a second or anything above your sync speed, mechanically the camera can't go down, and go up that fast. That's why there is this limitation on, and don't think it's a bad thing, it's a good thing, because at least there's a solution for that. That's why there is a limitation on your shutter speed, I mean on the sync speed when you're using flash. This is only happens when you're using flash, okay? If you're not using flash, you're fine. Because so that sleeve that you see in there, that's what the flash is going to capture. So and then you look at the back of your camera, you have a little bit of the image, and you have like a black bar either on the bottom of the camera, on the bottom of the image, or on the top of the image. What is that black bar? That black bar is the curtain that got captured by the flash. Okay, is that because right here, right now, you have just a sleeve, right? You have just a sleeve that of the image here. So the camera will capture either the top, a little bit of the top of the curtain number 2, or a little bit of the curtain number 1. That's when high-speed sync comes in place. So you are able to create an image wide open at 3 o'clock in the afternoon with the sun high. You're able to create that image using high-speed sync. So what happens when you use high-speed sync? Then you go on your flash and you set it to high-speed sync. What happens there, the difference is that when you are using the flash in a normal way, not high-speed sync, the flash pops one time and closes, right? Pops and boom, 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 right? It has all the power. Because the sensor is exposed enough, long enough to capture the image, and then it closes. That makes sense, right? And if it doesn't, let me know in the comments here, and I will answer your question. But when you do high-speed sync, when you go over the sync speed on your camera without using high-speed sync, you're going to have this sleeve, both curtains. Curtain number 1 comes down, but I mean at 1/1000 of a second. Curtain number 2 start moving, and then they're going to work like this, close and come back. You get just that sleeve. That sleeve that you see, you're going to see on your image, like I said before, a black bar either on the top or on the bottom of the image. And I'll tell you, it's scary. I remember the first time when I saw that, I was like, what is this? My camera is broken. My lens is broken. Oh my God, I just started and I need to buy a new camera. And then I started doing research and learned that, and I really found this fascinating, and then I learned a lot about it. So, because I really want to understand what happens in there, right? And I'll tell you, even after I knew, sometimes it caught me. I'll take a picture not thinking about it, and then look at the image, and I'll see that black bar either on the bottom or the top, and I'll go, oh, high-speed sync. Then you have to flip to high-speed sync. But now you ask, how is high-speed sync capable of capturing, of burning a full image into the sensor if the curtains are moving? The way it works, when you flip your flash to high-speed sync, the flash not going to pop anymore. Not going to be like, boom, and stop. It's going to be like a strobe, boom, boom, like a nightclub strobe. Boom, 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 boom. Will be pulsing on a speed so fast that your eyes cannot notice. Your eyes will not see that happening. So for you, it would look like just one pop. But what happened is that it's going boom, 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 and it's lighting the image as the curtains move down, even if it's just a slit in there. So it is lighting the image completely as it comes down and comes back up. That's why it works. But you need to have a flash that's able to do high-speed sync. I would find really hard to believe that any modern flash right now is not capable of doing high-speed sync. And I know there's a lot of technical stuff here. You may say, look at this and say, why do I want this? Or it's too much technical stuff, but it's important stuff to know, because you need to know your camera. You need to know the tool. I mean, this is your money making. You need to know your tools. You need to know because if you get something like that, you're going to be scratch your head like what's happening? Why do I have this black bar here in the bottom of, and you're shooting like an event? Then you have a problem there. Remember that I keep saying this, you need to know your tools, you need to know your camera. So it's important to know how it works so you can troubleshoot it when it happens. So when you set your image, your camera to high speed sync, and you go over the sync speed, flash has got to working like this. Let me say that again. When you set your flash to high speed sync, and on your camera you go over the sync speed, the flash is gonna go like this. Pulsing. To be able to light, so curtain number 1 comes in, 1/1000 of a second, okay? Curtain number 1 comes in, curtain number 2 comes in, and then they go through that sliver thing, and the flash goes and lights the whole thing. You have a fully lit image. I think it's fantastic. I think it's great. I love it. But like everything in life, drawbacks. What are the drawbacks of high-speed sync? I'm glad you asked. Number 1, because you're firing too many shots, you lose a little bit of power on the flash. You usually have to bump by half or 1 full exposure to get to the high-speed sync to light the image correctly. That's number 1. Number 2, it's obvious, you pulsing the flash, and the flash is going to be it's going to work way harder than when it goes do 1 pop. Because, then go to number 3 first. Number 3, your batteries aren't going to last long, because now your batteries are working much harder. Okay, I don't even know. I can't even tell you how many pops it does. I don't even know, but it's a lot. It's so fast that we can't really see it. So drawback, again, what are the drawbacks of high-speed sync? Number 1, you lose a little bit of power on the flash. You have to bump up the power on the flash a little bit. Number 2, you will stress the flash bulb a whole lot more than when you shoot the regular sync speed. And number 3, your batteries will not last long. When I'm saying like they won't last long, it's not that you're going to do 1 shot, the batteries are going to die. No. If you shoot an event, let me tell you this, and I'm not going to go back to the weddings because not everybody here shoot weddings, I know. Let's say you shoot in a 3-4 hour event. If you keep those flashes, let's say, and you have like one flash on the top of the camera and 2 flashes on each corner of the room where the event happens. If you keep those flashes in high-speed sync all the time, you may not get to the end of the event with 1 single battery. You may have to replace battery halfway through. Okay? And honestly, if you shoot events, you know you don't want to do that, because that's when, like everything in life, right? When you need to change batteries is when the funny stuff happens and you miss it. That's just the way it is. So be careful when you're using high-speed sync, because those drawbacks are serious. And listen, I'm not telling you not to use high-speed sync. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying be aware of the drawbacks, because you go online, there's like a bunch of people talking about high-speed sync. I hardly ever hear anybody talking about the drawbacks of high-speed sync. It's one of those things that people, I don't know if people don't know, or I don't know if people don't think it's that relevant to talk about. I personally like to know what happens. And there's another thing that can happen to your flash also. If you shoot high-speed sync all the time, your flash may overheat. Remember a few weeks ago, I was telling you that I was shooting a wedding and both of our flash overheated because it was so hot, and it was Danny and I shooting with the same flashes, of camera flashes, and the flash was like pull all the time. Remember that I told you the flash overheated, and we we have to change flashes like quickly. Jeff was assisting me on that wedding, which we create some beautiful image, by the way. Jeff, that image, that image that Daniel was working on, that image with the gel in the background, the fog. She did some different editings on that. It looks amazingly beautiful. I hope they decide to go. That image will lend itself to a big metal print, which is shiny. It's going to be beautiful. But I digress. So be careful when using high-speed sync, because the drawbacks are there. You're going to strain your flash. You're going to run out of battery. And again, when you shoot an event, be it a birthday party or a convention or a wedding, reception, one more thing that you need to deal with, one more thing that you have to deal with when you're shooting, right? Because, excuse me, the whole thing about knowing your camera, that I keep driving to that point, is that when you get there to your gig, you focus on shooting. You're not focusing on debugging why this is not working. And I challenge you to do a test. Do a test and send me the image. Get some, get a vase of flour, put the flash on a camera, and go and shoot over your high-speed sync. Let me see those images with the bars. That you're going to understand it better. Don't let everything that I tell you here, don't let it just go. Try it. And first question for you is, do you know the sync speed on your camera? If you don't know, look at the manual. Google it. Google by the brand and manufacturer and the model, because it changes from model to model. So try it, experiment with it, debug it, because that's how you're gonna learn. Okay, and if you decide to do that, send me some images. Send the image to me. I want to see those images. I want to. This thing keeps beeping on me, driving me crazy. Send me some images that I want to see them. So, high-speed sync. Anything that goes above your sync speed, you need to put your flash on high-speed sync. Okay, you use it when you want to shoot on a scene that has a lot of light, but you want a blurry background, and you don't want to use filters. You just want to use what you have. Okay, so you dial your aperture, you dial your ISO, and you get your shutter speed higher to cut the light. Remember, this is all to create those images that are not blown out skies and things like that. Because if you're going to do blown out sky, take the phone and take a picture and go home. It's much easier, much simpler, because this is all of this channel. The reason we talk about flash so much is because I want you guys to start thinking about separating yourself from everybody else. That's the only way you can survive on this competitive industry. Separate yourself from everybody else. And most people are shooting blown out skies where you don't have a separation from the background to the foreground. The model, the couple, whatever you're shooting is over here, and the background has the same luminosity. So when you look at the image, you don't focus on them. That's like your eyes are all over. So that's what a lot of people are doing. And what I want to show you, to teach you, I want to engrave in your minds that you can do better than that. You don't want to be fighting on that pool, because that's where everybody is. So you want to step out of that pool, but in order to do that, you need to do different than everybody else. You need to be different. You need to be unique. People need to look at your images and say, wow, this is different. That's the person that I want to shoot my engagement session, my wedding, my event. That's what's going to bring you that client that we all are looking for. Okay? So again, this week we're going to be high speed sync the whole week. So on Wednesday at 8:08 here at Clay Souza Official, we're going to try to do a shooting outside using high speed sync. Let's see if now we can get a good connection, because we're going to do here close to home. Let's try to get a good connection so you guys can follow along and ask questions if you have any. This is a pretty quiet group. You guys don't ask very many questions. So drawbacks, and one more time, I'm going to drive it again because this is important. Drawbacks of high-speed sync, what are they? The drawbacks are you're going to strain your light bulb in your flash. You're going to strain your flash. You're going to run out of batteries if you use that for too long. Okay, and the flash power needs to be bumped up a little bit. And there's another caveat: your flashes may overheat if you're using this for a long period of time. Okay, on Wednesday, if you join me on Wednesday, I'm going to give you a trick that I use on every wedding, and I mean every single wedding that I use using high-speed sync. You know, when the subject, let's say my light is over here, okay, and bride and groom come dancing, first dance, they spinning, and they get close to the light, and then they get too bright. There's a trick to take care of that, but it's going to be on Wednesday. I can show you what I do. It's very simple, what I do on Wednesday to get that thing going, because bride and groom first dance is a very important part. You don't want to mess it up. So stay tuned. Come back here on Wednesday, 8:08 p.m. Eastern Time, on Clay Souza Official. And if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe, give us a like, jump into Instagram, Clay Souza Official, every Monday and Wednesday, 8:08 p.m. Eastern Time. We have lives and we have daily posts about flash photography. Thank you so very much. I'm gonna go. Thank you for the well wishes. I'm doing all right. I'm doing great, full of energy, and let's keep moving with our channel. Okay? Thank you guys very much. Have a great night. Bye.